What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watchalong Wrestling. Hopefully everybody is doing well and staying safe. We have reached the halfway point of our WWE Tough Enough Season 1 Watchalong here. We are at episode 7 of the show. Crazy to think we're already there. Crazy to think we're already in August. And as always, I am joined by my main man, Steve. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today. Not so much earlier in the week, but I'm doing great now. Happy August. Yeah.
I know. Crazy. Happy August indeed. What happened earlier in the week that wasn't so good?
Well, it was good and bad. So we went to Epcot for the first time in a long time. And we saw one of our really old friends, near and dear, that had moved away a few years ago that we haven't seen in a while. It was, when you go to Epcot, one of the main things to do is, have some adult beverages and whatnot.
Of course.
And I believe we started in Canada, had some, apple cider and all that stuff because they have the Food and Wine Festival and all that going on. Oh. And then we went into the pub in the United Kingdom, and then somebody had the idea to start drinking around the world. It wasn't my idea, but I am not somebody to back down from something like that when somebody suggests it. So, it was, from what I remember, it was a good time. So,
this is what we actually did for my my bachelor party, and it's funny because that with people, and they were talking about a bunch of them getting ready to get married here, like in the next month, and so they were talking about their bachelor parties and their bachelorette parties, and so we got to talking about. My experience at Epcot drinking around the world, and I had said something similar that, like, I remember the first like 5 or 6, it was like, yeah, let's go, we're having so much fun, we're taking photos at each country, and we're like the happiest go luckiest the whole time. And then towards the end, I am just it was an utter disaster, but we hung in there, we made it through. I told them, I was like, we're gonna make it through no matter. You got it. If you're gonna do it, you got to make it through. You can't stop it. But the good news, though, is I don't think that Norway has those shots anymore that did me.
No, we stuck to plain old beer in Norway. And that was the thing, was, once again, there were a bunch of other people with us. There was a group of about 8 adults, and then there was one kid. So it was 8 adults, and me and one other person were the only ones to hit every single country. So, once again, some of the last men standing. But I would say I definitely was not as bad on your bachelor party, probably just because I knew that we had that big dinner at the end of the night. So I needed to make sure that I was sober, and also I needed to make sure that you were going to be able to make it there.
And it was close. It was tough. I mean, we, it's funny because I think for me, had I just stuck with beer, I probably still would have been, good. But I think it's when you're mixing and matching and trying all these different things, really does you in. But it was it's one of my favorite things to do, is go to Epcot there and drink, not necessarily drink around the world, but to go to Epcot there, go check out all the different countries. And so
at least sample a little bit from each one. Mixing, we mixed beer and wine and liquor and all that stuff. So the thing that did me in was when we got to Mexico and we went into the margarita bar. That's what did me in.
Yeah, that'll do that usually will do it. And I can't imagine that with that one youngster who is with all the adults who are drinking around the world.
I mean, it was my friend's girlfriend's son, so I'm sure he's exposed. He's experienced that kind of thing before, and he didn't seem to be paying us too much mind anyway. He had his phone and he was on Minecraft for most of it, so I don't think he really even understood what was going on.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm glad you guys finally got to be able to go to the parks. First time in like 2 years, right?
It's. I want to say we went earlier in the year, because maybe around March or April, because we went during Flower and Garden Festival, I want to say. But I mean, definitely the longest span of us not going to the parks.
That's crazy, and hopefully, everything stays on the up and up a little bit. I know it's been some crazy times with this Delta variant and everything, so hopefully parks continue to stay open. We yesterday went to an indoor dining restaurant in New York City and it was your typical New York City restaurant. It was for one of my wife's friends' birthdays, and it was your typical deal where it was like, a family style Italian restaurant. But when I hear family style Italian restaurant, I feel like you're going to be eating so much food that you can't even get out of the damn place when you're ready to go.
Yeah.
But that was like not the case at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, the food was good, and they did a deal where it was like you can match a different wine for each one of the dishes that you get. So each one, it was like I think it was a 5-course meal, and each one came with a different different wine to pair with that. So it started with like bread and your salad and your appetizer, and then you got a wine, and then you went from there to your pastas, to your meats, to something else, and then to your desserts.
Yeah.
It was redonkulously expensive. I'm never one to really. I understand you go to New York City, you're probably going to need to pay a little bit of money there.
Yeah.
But then after that, it was like not only was it so expensive, but at the end of the night we had to go get pizza because we were starving. So it was like, what are we doing? So, but it was still it was good. It was good to be out in Manhattan, but I also couldn't help but think like, I really hope that things calm down again and that we're able to continue to do stuff like this.
Yeah, it's and that was the kind of the thought that we had as well, where we were walking around and we were like, this is great, like everything's kind of sort of maybe back to normal, or maybe it's going to get back to normal. And then the very next day, Disney announced that you're going to have to start wearing masks again, at least indoors, and like they're starting to kind of ramp up the safety precautions again. So if things continue to go downhill, that might be the last time that we're in parks for a while again. So
yeah, it's crazy times. Obviously, with SummerSlam just around the corner, we have a trip to Vegas that I'm like, I'm hoping that it actually happens because it's such a crazy time. But yeah, I mean, good times yesterday. But one of the things, of course, I got one round of drinks for people afterwards because my wife was nice enough to cover the meal yesterday because it was her friends, and so I don't know, it was $7 for that. But then for me, I decided since it was a girl's birthday, I'd get a round of drinks, which was 6 drinks. And how much do you think 6 drinks cost yesterday at the place? Not that place in New York City, a rooftop.
Rooftop, okay. So can I ask what kind of drinks?
Well, you know me, I was just getting a beer.
Beer, okay.
But everyone else,
including tip or not including tip?
Not including tip.
Okay. I'm gonna say. So I'm thinking maybe $12 a beer, something like that for 6 people. So I'm gonna go with $72.
Well, it was me with the beer, and other people had the mixy type beer.
Oh, okay. So then 85.
It was 98.
Okay.
I'm like, so it is. It's a fun time in New York City, but you do have to realize when you go do that you're going to be spending quite a bit of money. And for me, that's fine. But then afterwards, we had to go get pizza because we were so hungry. So at the end of the day, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, really.
So, but here we are now. We are getting ready for the halfway point. Crazy thing, we're already halfway through episode 7. This is going to be episode 7 of Be Tough Enough. Last week, we had said goodbye to Shadrick. If this is your first time seeing this, now that we are at the halfway point, I'm going to put together a playlist of Steve and I's every single episode that we've done thus far. So you can just go ahead. You want to binge watch all the shows and get ready for it. And we may be taking a break next week and doing something different, which I'll get to potentially a little later on. But in the meantime, you guys can go ahead and stream all 7 of the episodes that we have there in that playlist. They'll play continuously throughout the day. So if ever you go on there and check that out. So the best way to do this, though, is to hit subscribe, of course, and then you'll be able to get all of our videos when we put them up live. And last week, we were a little late because of some technical difficulties. We got it up on Friday, but you got a little more bang for your buck now because now you put this up Friday, and now here we are back on Monday. So it ends up working out here. Obviously, I do have the ever so famous wrestling shirt here. I have Rowdy Roddy Piper that I am rocking here today. Another one from the very exciting collection that is offered through the Pro Wrestling Tees crate that I mentioned last week. PWTs, ProWrestlingCrate.com is where you can find that. All right, so let's get into it here. We're going to get started. You got your 3 zeros.
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you count us down, and I have to utilize my phone for this remote here, so let me do that, and we'll let you count us down.
Okay. So I'm on all zeros here. We're on season 1, episode 7, Bahamas or Bust. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. And I really appreciate the fact that they switched up the intros halfway through the season so that, I mean, you would maybe think that they would have done this at the very beginning, because they already had everything filmed and whatnot, you would think. So you would, expect that they actually would have had maybe a little bit of the preview throughout the season to, know what we're getting ourselves ready for.
Yeah.
Either way, I like it.
I do like
the last one.
Very cool. As now we see the contestants here training.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody's banged up. Josh looks a little banged up here. We didn't do our predictions. I don't know if there's a cut this week, but if there is, who do you think is next to go?
I think that Paulina is going to be the one to go.
Really? I think it's going to be either. I think Chris may be, but then it does feel like maybe some of the. Feels like they've been knocked down a couple of guys now, so maybe they will not.
Well, so I know at some point her injuries start to mount up, and I think especially seeing what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Greg looks pretty injured over there as well.
Yeah. Well, everybody is. I mean, now, you got to imagine they are at least a couple of months into their training at this point.
Right.
I don't know how much time has actually elapsed in between each episode, but they're at least a couple of months into their training, and it's definitely going to start taking a toll.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, so they're saying that 2 of the contestants here get to choose 2 different people to bring on site and spend a couple days at the house.
Did they say who? Do we know who it's going to be yet, or is it just kind of like a competition type of thing?
I think they're pulling the names out randomly.
Okay.
I always appreciate that B-roll of them coming down the street in the cars, because that means somebody is driving in the car beforehand and kind of hanging out the window, filming, and being able to.
From the production video, some executive producer was like, all right, we got to get this shot of,
Yeah. Here comes Kurt Angle, as they show him doing some absolutely insane. That move there, that moonsault off the top of the ladder with no one home, is one of the most devastating things I think ever that anyone's ever done.
Worse than the Brock Lesnar moonsault that he tried and absolutely faced.
He legitimately was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this move, and if you move, I'm just going to land on the blank camera." So here's Kurt Angle here, still with hair. Interesting to note that, because obviously Tough Enough aired during the summertime in 2001, but Kurt lost his hair at the Judgment Day pay-per-view in May of 2001. Match to Edge. They filmed this probably in springish, which makes sense because we had done a couple weeks ago when they went to SmackDown, it was before WrestleMania.
Yeah. And I don't think he ever grew it back after that. Every memory I have after him, even in TNA and then coming back to WWE and all that, he was still bald the entire time.
Well, he looks good here, but you can tell he's already kind of got the gulfs going a little bit.
Yeah,
a little thinning on.
It was dual purpose.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things too, where it's it probably was one of these things where he probably went and said, "Hey, I'd like to shave my head," and they were like, "All right, if you want to shave your head, that's fine, but you have to make sure that we're going to do it as a part of a storyline." And I think that's the story with Kevin Nash when Nash shaved his head. Oh, we got exclusive footage here. But yeah, when Kevin Nash wanted to shave his head, I think he needed to do it for a Ninja Turtle movie or some movie he was in. Maybe Punisher. Was he in Punisher?
He wasn't Punisher. I know he trimmed his hair. He didn't completely shave it.
Right.
So that's what it was, yeah.
Nash and then cut his hair. It wasn't shaved. It was just trimmed, but...
Yeah. Which, hey.
Yeah.
When he was known for those, flowing, gorgeous locks, and even any sort of buzz cut or something, it's still going to do the job.
Yeah.
And this is all the exclusive footage again. The reason why last episode was so short was because we didn't have this kind of opportunity.
Didn't have anything. This is actually cool, though. He's telling a story about how originally he was offered to a multi-million-dollar deal from Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Without training, guaranteed for 10 years. And he denied it because he thought, other people he was talking to were saying WWE was a joke. They were con artists. You shouldn't go there. You're a real athlete.
Right. So,
and now he finally, years later, after going to check out Raw and starting to watch the show, he's like, hey, wait a minute. Let's see how it's going here. Back to WWE. He's like, you know what? I'll take that offer. And they say, well, that's no longer there. Instead, we'll give you a training contract just like everyone else because now you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
As saying, if he was given everything in a silver platter, he would have flopped. And it's funny because around this same time is Mark Henry's given a 10-year guaranteed contract, and he takes several years to really get going. He's there from 96 to 06 in that 10-year deal. And think about all the silliness they had him do with the sexual chocolate stuff and the Mae Young stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it took him a long time.
All that, yeah.
Hall of Fame, and he had a great career, but it took a while to get there.
Right. But I mean, and it's funny though that he's the one coming in saying, I had this opportunity to basically jump to the top immediately. And, I took the time to kind of do it right a little bit. And he's speaking to his character. And funny that his first match, or other way around, Taz's first match was in WWE was against Kurt Angle.
Yeah. Yeah. The Royal Rumble 2000. Both of our favorite pay-per-views with Taz's debut and the great Cactus Jack Triple H match. Yeah, they had he is basically saying how he did so many of the dark matches and really earned his stripes prior to getting in, so he already had the respect before coming in. Whereas if he just right away, at the end of the day, it doesn't go. He probably doesn't have that respect. Instead, it's like, hey, this guy's just been handed a huge deal.
Right.
And now he's talking about all these people he worked with in the camp, like Prince Albert, who went on to be A-Train. I think he's mentioned Draws too, which I don't know about that. But.
Which, I mean, and the thing is that he still had some sort of background. He still paid his dues somehow, whereas he's still an athlete jumping over. It's kind of like, when you have UFC crossovers.
Yeah.
Into wrestling, like you're still, even though you haven't been doing professional wrestling for that long, you're still an athlete and you still have been putting the work in somehow, some way, shape, or form.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he's talking about, one of the best things about starting from scratch with WWE was he got to go with some of the best trainers in the world, Dr. Tom Pritchard, Dory Funk, and, it wasn't some of the other folks who maybe got their start in an independent wrestling school paying, Jobber Jack a certain amount. And no one knows if he's even training you the right way.
Right.
And I mean, you think about 2001 Kurt Angle here, he's, having these great matches with Edge and having these actually, I'm sorry, I'm totally off on my timeline. He has his hair until May of 2002.
Okay. I mean, still, even, this is still right around that time.
Yeah. But he's having matches like he's the world champion in 2001. He ends up beating Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think, at Unforgiven 2001 to win his first world title. And so Kurt is like one of those big guys. It might have been the year before, but he's still in his first couple of years there and having incredible matches. He fights Austin at SummerSlam 2001 in the Classic. So really good stuff.
Yeah. It's so weird that they've actually jumped back and forth a couple of times between the regular footage and exclusive footage. He has talked to these guys for so much.
Yeah, it's interesting that whoever's doing the editing on this is probably watching this like, wow, this is good stuff. Let's add some more of this here.
Let's just let this roll. Let's just do this.
Yeah, it's probably like the real episode. He probably talks to them for like maybe 30 seconds. But here on this, we've gotten to see a couple of minutes of all the things, all from that, basically a lot of his discussion with these guys.
Yeah, but I feel like, now that we've had a couple of these wrestlers come in, it was like Triple H where he was giving them the rude awakening and the lecture and the wake up call, and maybe targeted to a couple of them particularly, but it was still like he was kind of there to bring in the tough love. And then Pat Patterson that came in a little while later, and he was like, kind of telling them about like the glory days and just like, old road stories and that kind of thing. And now you have Kurt coming in, who's a little bit of both and just kind of telling them, his own personal experience. And he's still doing it in a positive light and giving them some good advice here.
Yeah. Yeah, they and you could tell too. I mean, Kurt's now really talking about how, like, hey, not only do you need to basically learn to wrestle, do it the right way, but you have to dedicate your entire self to make sure the best shape of your life every single day. And it's talking about his body by trying to train every single day. And I mean, that's really traveling. Yeah.
And basically saying, hey, listen, when you get into that locker room, you're going to get a lot of crap thrown your way because of the way that you came into this business. So you need to make sure that you're taking this seriously and that you can take that on top, and, that your character can handle that on top of everything else that it comes with.
Yeah. Oh, God. Taz, tell us how you really feel.
Right.
Kurt's like, wow, what a dick. And I think, like, when Maven and Nydia had gotten this thing, because they eventually win, 20-year spoiler alert, when Chris eventually does make it also, and he has a bit of a run, I think the stories were that he had a little more respect because he didn't win. So he still needed to earn his way into the company.
Yeah.
Where other folks won.
And we've compared it in the past to American Idol, and it's a similar thing there too, where, with American Idol, you get that guaranteed contract, where as the runners up or the, third or fourth place guys that don't win end up making it kind of a little bit more on their own. They still have that springboard about, being a reality TV star.
No, you're right. This is cool stuff. It's basically showing Kurt here doing all these practice moves and explaining the different things he's doing, and then they've juxtaposed it with him actually doing the things he's talking about in real life and in matches. I love that he said he has 3 eyes. They're going to. But I love that he was saying that he lives his eyes by the 3 eyes, and there's a 4th eye, and then it goes to Chris turning around going, I was thinking about what could be that 4th eye. I'm thinking maybe it was an eyeball. It doesn't begin with an eye.
No.
The spaghetti.
No.
I do love everybody getting ready to go to the Bahamas, and there's Chris Nowinski just reading his book.
Right. Ayn Rand of all things. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
He has that book out just for the camera and just so everybody can go look how smart and cultured he is. He's reading Ayn Rand.
Exactly. Yeah, this would be so Chris is just really remaining very much focused. I mean, what is that on Josh's head?
I don't know, like something for his hair, like some sort of like, I don't know.
It looks like, it
looks like something that you would wear at like the hair salon or something. Yeah,
he's putting some lasers there to maybe make sure it doesn't go bald or something like that. Yeah, I think you're right on the Paulina thing, as she's talking about going to go get a CAT scan on her knee.
Yeah. I am hitting a commercial right now.
Yes, we are on our first commercial break, 45 seconds in. It took a while for us to get to that commercial break.
I was surprised. I was like, come on. But I guess all that Kurt Angle stuff, it's hard to cut in the middle of that. So
yeah, I guess they were like, well, because I do really think like there has to be somebody sitting there and their job is just to watch this stuff all day long, pick and choose where they're going to put the commercial breaks, pick and choose what can't be included in Peacock, quite the job. Getting paid to do that would be. I mean, I'm sure some of this stuff is like, if you're getting like Monday Night Raw from 1995, and you've got to sit there.
And I don't think you can really pick and choose what you actually get. So you might wind up with something that you have absolutely no interest in anyway. So
we are back here. Are you back?
Yep, I'm back.
All right. And here they all going through. I am a huge, absolute geek for any sort of vlogging type footage that includes traveling. Do not ask me why. Absolutely. Whenever I see somebody do a vlog and they start from the destination, I'm like, what are you doing? Show me you on the plane. Show me you walking through the airport. That's some of the most fun stuff.
Yeah. So I know for the fact that they're at Atlanta, so they're in Nassau. Have you ever been to Nassau before? I
have not. I definitely want to be there. That looks beautiful back in 2001. I can't imagine what it looks like now.
I mean, it is. Atlantis is really cool. They have a really cool resort and aquarium, and there's a casino and stuff like that. So I can say, Atlantis is pretty cool. I haven't explored Nassau too much else, but I do know it's kind of touristy.
Are they in Atlantis right now?
So all of those, with all the water slides and all that stuff, I don't know if it looked like they weren't staying at Atlantis, but a lot of that shot was definitely Atlantis, where you get the big hotel and all that stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Looks beautiful. It's definitely one of those places we wanted to go. We almost went when we instead went to Dominican Republic in May. The reason we didn't do it, though, is because I heard a lot of it was still closed due to COVID restrictions, and it's very pricey. So to still pay for like a top, not get everything is tough.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Josh was doing his highlights or something.
That is exactly what I think he was.
Because now that he has that shot, and he was his hair looks a little bit different than last time. So
he is so 2001 here. He is
oh my god,
on the choker, the bleach blonde hair.
Yeah.
Very Eminem-ish with the wife beater.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's Chris sitting next to the old... I love the shot. Chris there, sitting next to the old man, not involved with any of the kids, just acting like this is miserable. I also love the shot there of Greg. He's walking through, and they showed him, walking with the rest of the crew, and he's, got the strut going, looking like he's doing the wrestling strut as he's walking through, and...
Yeah. I mean, you can tell he's already, how much he's one of those guys that once he came into the WWE now, looking back, you're like, how much of his gimmick was actually a gimmick and how much was it just him being him?
Right. That's true.
Unless he's building his gimmick right here, right now. And this is all, part of it.
Now that bald head there of John, and he's got the visor on, that visor's not doing much to protect his bald head from getting, burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, really.
Looks like just an incredible resort.
Mm-hmm.
Now, eventually, she did go on to, for a very brief period of time, work for TNA. Not as a valet or a manager, as she's saying, but actually as one of the smaller wrestlers' bodyguards.
Interesting.
Yeah. So so there was a place, at least briefly, for her.
Yeah.
They're doing the drawing for the guests to see who gets somebody to stay on site and come visit them while they're there.
Yeah. I was really hoping there was going to be some sort of competition or something instead.
Right. Like a drawing?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? You're on a reality show. Find some way to make this a little more, competition or something. Now, this has got to be awkward because at the end of the day, having the girlfriends come while you're doing this, I feel like it would almost distract from the company.
Did you get what was happening there? Was that Chris was happy that Greg got picked because he knew that whoever he was choosing wasn't going to be able to make it?
So he thought, that he'd give him the spot?
I guess.
Back to his reading of the book. Josh's recorder, my daughter was given a recorder. She's one, and she's playing on that thing all the time. And let me tell you, my patience, I'm this close to taking that thing and clucking it right out the window.
I gotta tell you though, if I had to share a room with a guy like Nowitzki too, I'd probably be on that recorder too. So I can't blame him.
Trying to keep himself entertained with everything going on there. That was the first time in several weeks that my recording equipment fell. It had been doing very well for a while.
And you know, you got to say when the guy walks in with a polo shirt tucked into his khakis, in the Bahamas. That's about all you need to know about him.
Oh, it looks like he's getting really upset right now.
Well,
yeah, Chris not making himself too many friends.
Right. Yeah. You know, you kind of have to ingratiate yourself to everybody you actually want to make friends. If you want to just sit there and read your book and you're just there for yourself, hey, you can't be mad when everybody else goes and hangs out and doesn't invite you.
Yeah. Looks like Chris went out and got drunk on his own.
Yeah. Hey,
but what's funny is a good tactic back on different reality shows would be to piss somebody off who looked like they maybe had a chance to win in hopes they'd punch you, and then that person would be kicked off the show.
Yeah, or something like that, right? Yeah, and was it Josh that was just out there saying, you know, I didn't realize how easy it was to get under Chris's skin. So now when I'm bored, I might just do that. Mm-hmm. Kind of forgot that Taylor was still there.
I feel like she's never even on anything.
But again, you would think if you had to say, okay, we're going to the two winners are going to be the ones that are on camera the least.
Yeah,
it's going to be Maven and it's going to be Taylor because they are never on camera.
Ever. Maven, nothing at all with him. It's the weirdest thing ever.
So here he is with the aviators and backwards visor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hitting another commercial. This one's a full minute.
Yep. Same thing with me. 60 seconds. We're actually in lockstep when it comes to our stuff here. But yeah, Maven really, he has not developed his character really at all thus far on the show or his personality. He just kind of feels like someone who's just kind of coasting by who you'd almost forget was there. It's a winning goal.
So I don't know if you actually saw this, but recently I saw that there was an article where somebody from, I don't remember exactly what source it was, but there was a guy that actually interviewed Maven recently within the past couple of weeks about what he's up to and that kind of thing. And again, not to do a 20-year spoiler or anything, but they had basically said to him at one point because his mom was going through, cancer and all that, and, all that stuff, where the producers basically told him, listen, you got this. This is, you're going to win if you don't screw anything up.
Really?
Yeah.
And we were back.
Don't and you got this.
I think that interviewer is Chris Van Villay, who does a lot of wrestling interviews. Really good YouTuber. He is also a newscaster, so that's kind of how he got his start. Okay. I'll have to check that interview out though, because I'm a mark for all things Maven. There's so little Maven out there that whenever he's out there, I always get real excited. So I have to check that out. See, I think if I'm doing this competition, it's Greg's competition to lose. I think he's great.
Chin strap, beard and all.
Oh, so he's given his guest to Chris?
Yeah, because he sold the spot to Chris.
And now he's wanting it back.
So Maven saying he's reasonable. No, he's not.
What happened? He's reasonable? That's what Maven said?
Yeah, Maven was like, oh, you got to talk to Chris. He'll set it right. He's reasonable.
Oh, Lord.
This guy's such a tool.
He's so much. He's even worse than Daryl at this point. This guy is a total douche.
And we all kind of knew it, but I forgot just how big of a douchebag he is.
Yeah, I mean, you see this guy. It's they basically when he was Chris Harvard, the wrestler on WWE TV, they basically were just go out there and be yourself.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And here, Paulina's still struggling here with some of her MRI.
He would have been able to join like the Main Street Posse, no problem.
Oh yeah.
Or imagine if like he had lasted a little bit longer and been able to like couple up and do some sort of like tag team with Randy Orton.
Oh yeah.
That would have been like the pinnacle of douchiness.
Well, if you remember, we were both at the show, Survivor Series 2002. He comes out with Matt Hardy to go after Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner when Steiner makes his debut.
I don't remember that. No.
It laid him. And I guess they're making fun of Josh here that he got some sunburn in the Bahamas. But let me tell you, if I had gone to the Bahamas, I'd be very, very sunburned. And
yeah, back like a lobster.
Yeah. Ah, he gave it to Chris. Ah. I mean, even Maven getting some TV time here.
Yes, you could be very much so, Chris, because it
yeah.
You understand, it's not like Greg didn't have somebody lined up. It was that he had his girlfriend that he wanted to come, but thought that she couldn't.
Exactly.
Could. At that point, you have to do the right thing and say, oh, okay, well then you can come. Like it was, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a day. Like, he should have done the right thing at that point and said, hey, now that she can go, that's it.
Like, I get it's a competition, but it's not a competition in the sense of like, it's not like one of those, really kind of like you have to play a strategy like a Big Brother or, like Survivor type of things. It's not like they're voting who gets to go out or anything like that. Like, you're basically here because of your talent, your skill, and everything like that. Like,
yeah.
The only thing you're doing is making your life harder for the next however long you're here.
Yep. I always wonder, though, if I'd want the loved one to come. I feel like it would take me out of the game. I think it would make things like I'd kind of lose whatever was going on around me during the game to spend time with a loved one. And then the person would go back home, and then I'd just be sad not seeing him again.
Yeah, and that's kind of even though while we're looking at Paulina again, some really bad news here and everything, that is where it could take the wind out of you for a little bit, or it could do the opposite where it could invigorate you. But I think chances are you're probably looking at like saying, wow, I've been away from this person for 2 months. Imagine this, another 8 or 9 months.
Yeah. Paulina is taller than Al.
I mean, I know, like, Al's a solid, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". I know he's taller than me because I remember one time when I was when we were at USA Pro Show.
Yeah.
And next to me in the bathroom, and I remember having to look up.
I remember not only seeing Al there and thinking that, but also not noticing how jacked he was. He was in great shape.
Yeah.
So Paulina is wrapping things up here.
Yeah.
A shame. I definitely think, hindsight being what it is, I think if her leg's in shape, I think at minimum she gets to the final 2 with Nydia. I think Taylor.
Yeah. Which, and like saying goodbye to the other 2 girls, she's literally head and shoulders above the other 2 girls. Like,
yeah.
And that,
So you nailed this one here in terms of the people, who was going to be going next.
Yeah, I remember she left pretty soon, so I didn't realize she actually lasted as long as she did, to be honest.
Let me just go ahead and put my thing on pause so that I don't get spoilers for the next.
Yeah.
Here. But yeah, good episode of the show there. I really like the Kurt Angle stuff. I love the vacation footage of them going over to the Bahamas and seeing all of that. But that was really cool. And, interesting to kind of see Chris really morphing into kind of that elitist, stereotypical, how you envision someone from Harvard being.
And that's exactly right. Where that is exactly how I would expect somebody that went to Harvard to act.
Yeah. I remember I dated somebody for about 6, 8, 9 months on and off, and she went to an Ivy League school. And whenever I'd go around to meet with her friends, I went to Hofstra University, and I'm very proud of going to Hofstra University. And when I would go around her, she would always tell me, hey, please don't mention that you went to Hofstra University. Or if I did mention it, she'd make sure to chime in, oh, yeah, but he had gotten a scholarship or something like that. So it is like that type of like once you get into like an Ivy League school sometimes, and that's not all the time, but you do feel this sense of, oh, look how great I am because I went and did all these different things. And Chris is certainly like this sense of entitlement and everything to that extent.
Yeah.
So
crazy. Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was a really good episode. Crazy to think we are more than halfway through the season already. Time is flying. August, one of my people always say "Wake Me Up When September Ends" from the Green Day song, but for me, August is one of those months that always gets to me because I feel like it's you're still in the middle of the summer, but it goes by really fast. I feel like once you get to SummerSlam, it's done. And it flies by. So it's definitely not one of my favorite months, like a May, June, July. Like I feel like those 3 are your main summer months, whereas like August is like you're hanging on to it, but the weeks are counting down quick, and you got to take advantage of it as long as you can.
Yeah, well, and especially being a teacher, and here in Florida, because we get out so early, it also means that we go back to school early. So tomorrow, Monday, is going to be my first day back in my classroom from the past. So, yeah, not my favorite either.
No, yeah, it's definitely tough. But we next week, or maybe next week or the weekend, should we take our break and do our special episode that we had talked about potentially doing? I don't even know if you remember what it was. Our SummerSlam episode that we were going to do. Do you think now would be a good time to do it, or should we hold off one extra week?
Well, I'm a little embarrassed because I don't remember which weekend SummerSlam is exactly. So
SummerSlam is the 21st.
Okay.
The 21st is a Saturday. If whatever that weekend is, it's the Saturday. I think it's the 21st. I think maybe the 22nd, because I know. No. Yeah, it's the 21st, because on August 13th, I am going to go see Limp Bizkit here in New York City. And I'm going to get a gruff and rolls of the eyes to every person that I mentioned that I'm going to see. Especially there's this documentary up on HBO Max about Woodstock 99 that does not paint Limp Bizkit in a very positive light at all. And when we watched it, which is a great documentary, highly recommend it, Fred Durst pretty much incites a riot during this show. And me and Ari watched this show like, well, boy, I don't know if we're going to do so well at this show. But I feel like, so we can certainly do our hold off on our episode until SummerSlam week if you think that is a better time to do it, our SummerSlam Memories episode.
Maybe at least a little bit closer, yeah.
All right, so then next week we will be back. We'll get into the details. So next we'll do episode 8 of WWE Tough Enough, which is going to be the injuries start piling up. And there's an unfortunate picture of Greg sitting there in the coming attraction, which is sad. Favorite of mine from the start. So we'll get to that. And then I guess that will be on August the 9th. So then at next week, at the end of next week's episode, we'll give you guys the details of something exciting that we have in store for August 16th, the beginning of SummerSlam week. How does that sound?
Can't wait.
Sounds good to me. Again, if this is your first time visiting the channel, make sure you leave a big thumbs up and subscribe. And let us know your favorite memories of Tough Enough as we reach the halfway point of the show. And I'll be sure to include them in the feedback next week. Until then, Steve, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck at your first day back at work tomorrow. And we will see everyone again real soon.